Time for another edition of Out and About with Jamie Grout. This time around, he'll be talking with Don Bleeker, who is co-owner of the Capital 2 Theaters in Newton, and also the mom, I guess you could say, of Joy the Mini Pig. And it's great to do a podcast with her and find out about the Capital Theater and Joy. But if you really want to see Joy, check out the video on the Out and About with Jamie Grout videos page. It's a short cast. Or also the YouTube channel. And make sure you subscribe to the Out and About with Jamie Grout YouTube channel. Our sponsors include Clem and Mackey, sponsors of the holiday lights going on at Maytag Park. Make sure that you check those out. They're absolutely beautiful, and they've done a great job. And on their Facebook page, they're talking about putting a price on your health. Being healthy not only makes you feel good, but it can also help with your finances, too. Ryan's Tire and Auto on First Avenue, Newton. They are honored to be nominated for the 2025 Small Business Local Business Champion Award by the Greater Newton Area Chamber of Commerce. Also by Tony Pesca, IR Realty. She found the right house for Little Red and myself, and she'll find the right house for you. If you want to buy or sell, get a hold of Tony at 641-417-8484. And also by Newton Des Moines East KOA.
Introducing RV Sales Made Easy at the Newton KOA and Timberline in Waukee. We're here to take the stress out of selling your RV. Listing an RV online can be time-consuming. Our experts step in to handle the details so you can relax while we do the hard work. We act as your trusted partner from start to finish. That means everything from assessing your RV's value and creating standout marketing to negotiating with buyers and finalizing the sale. Call today, Newton KOA or Timberline Campground in Waukee to schedule your appointment to sell your RV. 563-340-6374. We make it easy for you.
Time for another Out and About with Jamie Grout podcast, and my interview guest this time around is Don Bleeker, who is a co-owner with her husband of the Capital Theater in Newton, and also Joy the Mini Pig, who in front of us right now is enjoying her treats in her special room here at the Capital Theater. I remember when this room was actually a real estate office at one time, but it's Joy's home now. And we'll get some video of Joy here in just a little bit. She is absolutely wonderful, Don. And I remember when she was just a baby. Do you remember bringing Joy out to the Hy-Vee convenience store, and they had a pet show? And now, if my memory serves correct, Joy walked up a ladder or something like that, or did some kind of trick. I remember that. And I think Joy won the pet show.
She did win. I can't remember exactly what. Actually, I think it might have been, was it costume? I don't know. She was a butterfly, but she got a little trophy.
She did.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So Don, does Joy still do tricks?
She does do tricks. She's kind of slowing down a little bit. I'm kind of slowing down, but we still go to nursing homes, we'll go to schools, birthday parties, wherever we're invited. But she still enjoys doing them. Mm-hmm. But, she's almost 13 years old, and so we're just kind of slowing down a little bit.
She's in her Santa costume right now. She just looks adorable.
Yep.
Now, we'll get back to more of Joy, and we'll talk about Storm, too,
sure.
Your other pig that you have, in just a moment. But first, I want to go back. What made you and your husband want to buy the Capital Theater? I have a special love for this place. I don't know if I told you, I was a projectionist in high school here at the Capital Theater and worked for Dorman Hundling. And back then, there was only one screen.
Right.
This was like 1976, 77, something like that. And I loved my job, all the pop and popcorn you could have. And I got to watch the movies for free. And the only problem was, Dorman was a great guy, a good boss, but he was... he ran a real tight ship financially. And by the time we get the film, it had been to several different theaters. And so it would break real easily. And I remember there was a movie with Alan Arkin called Freebie and the Bean. And it broke on me, and it collected in the projector. And we were up till 3 o'clock in the morning trying to splice that film back together. It was just kind of crazy. But I loved doing that, and I really enjoyed my time. But I also ended up getting a part-time job at the radio station in Knoxville, and that's how I got into the radio business.
Okay.
But what made you and Paul decide that you wanted to own a theater?
So it kind of fell into our laps. we came to the theater as a family on a Thanksgiving, the Sunday after Thanksgiving, and the doors were locked. And we had one of the Daily News, like buy one, get one type of a certificate. And I was going through a bad mom, we didn't do anything on Thanksgiving. We're rushing back to do our holiday movie, and the doors are locked. So I came back on a Tuesday, and the manager was here, and I asked him, I asked him about Sunday, and he says, I didn't know we were closed. And so he honored, because those coupons expired. So he honored the coupons, and then he gave me like a gift card with quite a bit of money on it. And then he said, I'm so sorry. He says, I'm not here all the time. I manage 7 other theaters around Iowa. He says, I just have kids running this. And I said, well, I kind of am looking for a job that to help put my daughter in all the volleyball, through volleyball clubs, because she really wanted to go to college to play volleyball. And so being on club teams are pretty expensive. And I didn't have a full-time job at that time, so I was just looking for something extra. And I said, I've never worked at a theater. He says, that's okay. If you want to do this, that'd be great. So I talked to my husband, and he's like, oh, I always thought it'd be cool to run a projector. So he was all in.
Sure.
And then my daughters, I just had 2 at home at the time, and my daughter's a sophomore, was like, oh, I don't know, Mom. And I said, well, you could probably work at the theater too. She's like, okay. So anyway, so it's a family decision. We started working at the theater under the other company.
It was owned by Big Time Cinema or something like that. I remember that because I came to Newton in 2007. It was, December 15th, actually, of 2007, I started at the radio station, and it was owned by that other company at that time. And then it closed for a while.
Well, so they owned it since 2007?
Well, I might have been further back than 2007. Okay. I came to Newton in 2007, and I remember at that time that's who it was owned by. And then people were freaking out when the theater closed.
Yeah, so, and it could have been. So I started working at the theater December 1st, 2011. And we just fell in love with the theater. Now, we love movies, but we were the Netflix family. We went to video stores too, but we were always that family who would turn it in late. Then we had all these fees, so doing Netflix through the mail was the better way to go. And so, anyway, after I started working at the theater, like I said, we fell in love with it. And then the general manager's like, Dawn, he says, you guys should think about buying the theater. He's like, they're going to have to go to digital, and, the owners don't even live here in Iowa. And I bet you if you made them an offer, they would probably let you do it.
Because the theater business was changing so much, and it would have been an affordable price to buy it from.
Exactly. Yep, because it was harder and harder to get 35 millimeter films at that time. Not that you couldn't, but you're going to wait a long time.
Was it on what they call the platter system at that time with the projectors? Yep. And if you don't know what the platter system is, folks, it's where they take all the reels of the films and they splice them all together, and it runs on this big platter and goes through a regular projector. And you probably had one projector that you used all the time, right? And
we had 2. We had 2 screens.
Oh, I see.
If you went
that's right.
Yep. So if you went up to the projection booth, you would have. I always explained it like a, oh my gosh, like hanging laundry. You had the film in the air from the platter to the projector down and coming back to the platter again. So it's just like film is just hanging in the air.
Yeah.
And so we had that. And when you talked about the splicing of the film, so we were having trouble with that too. And I'll never forget one day, that's the only day we really had to close the theater down because we couldn't show a movie. It was for the Chipmunks movie.
Okay.
And I go upstairs, and Paul has film in a pile on the floor up to his waist. Yep, and that's not an exaggeration.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised.
It was crazy. And for us to untangle it, we had to take it out of projection booth, down the stairs, into the balcony, and straighten it all out before we could get it back going again.
Well, I remember that Dorman Hundling's son, Doug, did a video several years ago, and I don't know whether this is when you guys reopened it or when it was still owned by the other company or what the situation was, but having worked here, I know about the history, and Doug shared some of the history. This theater goes back to what, the vaudeville days, doesn't it?
It does. So 1927.
And there's even dressing rooms in the back.
Yeah.
And I know that Dorman Hundling and his family played in the orchestra for some silent movies and things like that. And I love this place. This is really a fantastic old theater, and it's wonderful. And then in the 80s, somewhere in the 80s, it went from one screen to two.
Yeah, we're thinking the late 80s. Like I think it was like 88 for some reason. That number is coming to my head that year. But and I know when we originally bought the theater and we're trying to figure out what we're going to do, some people said, "Oh, put it back to one screen." Well, we can't go back to one screen. We technically probably should have at least 3 to 5 screens to really do justice as far as bringing in movies and stuff.
Sure.
But to get back then how we got involved in the theater, we ended up not offering. We didn't. We started taking classes of how to own a business or that sort of thing, and then in September of 2012, we got a phone call saying the owner said, "Hey, we're going bankrupt.
Oh.
And we're going to come and get the stuff."
Oh.
And I was at a volleyball game with my daughter in Pella. And so anyway, we met the owners here, and the guy said, he's like, "Hey, if you have any interest to buying this, we would be open. We'd be interested in what you would offer." And then we wouldn't take the stuff with. So,
okay.
So that's kind of how that happened.
Right.
And so they gave us some time to think about it, and we decided, well, let's do it. And so I started working at the theater December 1st, 2011, and October 26th, 2012. So not even a year later, I owned it, and I did not.
You didn't know anything about it?
I knew nothing. I knew nothing.
So was it tough going at first? Was it different than what you had imagined it would be at first, and then it got better over time?
I don't know if I really had any expectations. You know, I was so in charge of the concessions and stuff, and you know, I did a lot of all of that stuff, volunteering for, you know, for City League softball and volleyball and school stuff. So that was kind of natural for me. Probably the biggest thing was booking movies. And we didn't have the money to pay a booker. And so we're like, well, let's do it ourselves. And we still continued to book movies. We actually booked the movies for Knoxville also.
Oh.
That was kind of like, hey, can you do this for 1 year? And then they decided just to let us keep doing it.
Oh, are they independently owned too in Knoxville?
Yeah.
Or okay.
Yeah. They're a nonprofit.
Oh.
So I don't know if the city owns it. I'm not sure.
I'm curious.
But
I used to work in Knoxville.
Oh, did you?
When I started out in high school, and the radio station.
I know they have a board, and I work with the executive director. But we ended up falling in love with booking the movies. I shouldn't say we per se. Paul loves working with it, and we work with the studios directly. And so we really like that because we felt, you know, we're getting to know the studio reps, and I think that's helpful rather than going through somebody, just one person who's booking for all these other things. Because sometimes when we're getting movies or we don't think we're going to get movies, we can call the rep and say, hey, our town really wants this. What can you do for us? Because even though everything's on digital now, and actually we get our movies through satellite, they still don't go wide with all the movies.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes we're having to fight, beg, plead to get certain movies.
Well, you do get good first-run movies out here, and it's amazing that you do in a town the size of Newton. Like I say, when I was in high school, we didn't have that luxury, so hats off to you. And so you're begging and pleading sometimes for some of these movies?
Oh, we are. It can be, I mean, and they'll say, well, show us a movie. So we'll have to pull up numbers from previous movies, and we'll say, hey, or we screened a movie, and we're like, you know what, I know our town's going to do well with it. And so, and sometimes they can get it for us, sometimes they can't. And now the big tentpole movies we're going to get, but it's kind of these other ones that we're having to say, you know, if you have an extra print, and please keep us in mind because I think we will do well by it. So, and then we hope we do, because the next time they may not be again.
So you kind of never know?
Oh, no, we don't. Every movie that's going to be a big movie, we pretty much know. But then there's you know what, we'll have to see. So all the stuff changes on Monday. So like some people say, are you going to get that movie on Friday? I don't know. I'll find out on Monday. So we don't have a lot of time to really advertise. Monday's kind of the day that everything, the decisions are made.
Okay, all right. Now, is it the same with you as it is with other theaters where you make most of your money off concessions?
Yes. Yep. Unless it's an older movie. If we bring in an older movie, then we'll have a higher percentage. The problem is most of the people have already gone to the movie, so you just don't bring in as much.
Sure.
But yeah.
Sure. Okay, and you guys have made some big improvements in the theater over the years. Tell us about some of those, Don.
Well, actually, we have two different projectors. So the biggest thing, actually, when Paul and I took on the theater, I said to Paul, I'll give it a year. I said, we have no idea the community support. We knew that the theater wasn't being well populated when we were just working here as employees. And so we're like, you know what, we'll see. We'll see if there's a comeback. Give it a year, because we also knew that digital projectors were going to have to go that way.
And expensive cost,
and they're
I'm sure.
expensive costs. Yeah. So, and I wasn't willing to put our family in a financial jeopardy. And so anyway, so the community really did rally around, and so then we got digital projectors, and I think I figured out it was 2014 we got digital projectors. Well, then this last, they were starting to nickel and diming us, and after COVID hit, and so I was actually just looking at it in 2000. We got laser projectors in 2023, in March of 2023. And so that gives really nice, crisp, clean, better contrast movie with the colors. And so since then, also, in 2018, when we had new landlords, because Paul and I, a lot of people think we own the building. We don't. We lease it. Then they came in and did a huge renovation, and so now we have the recliners. We also have rockers, just because of the size of our theater. We didn't want to give up too many seats. Plus, some people don't want the recliners. We kept the balcony. We have new seats up in the balcony, and I love our lobby because it's just, we had Wood Styles. They helped design it and put it in, and that's a local business.
You bet.
So I'm really proud of that.
What genre of movies do the best for you here?
Family. I know sometimes people will get frustrated with us and say, hey, how come you don't bring in that horror movie? Well, because it doesn't do as well. And so it's the family movies. And so, and it's not that
you're talking like Disney type movies?
Disney type movies, or the animated ones. Now, we have kind of a strong faith-based following too, but the PGs, rated R ones, don't do as well. Now, there's like, in this industry, like certain movies, it's like cyclical. So we're going to go into this rated R area, because some people, I'll say, well, gosh, it's rated R. That's not going to be our first choice. If it's a war movie, and it kind of depends on what the rated R is for.
Sure.
But horror movies don't do as well. Well, it did. The movie It did really well.
Oh, okay.
So we're kind of picky and choosy with what our rated R movies we bring in.
Sure. I remember, I don't know if you recall, a few years ago, I think it was 50 Shades of Grey that came out. And the station, I wanted to do a promotion with you, and you were kind of like, well, I don't know. But you ended up putting it on.
Okay, so there's a story behind that probably nobody really knows.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, a year before that came out, we didn't even know what 50 Shades of Grey was. We had no idea the books. And somebody came in and said, are you going to play that? And Paul looked it up. He's like, no. He says, that'll be one of those movies you go in the back door down in the basement to go to. So that was a year prior. Well, then when it was starting to come out, people kept calling us and asking for us to bring in this movie. And so we're like, gosh, we can't we can't look away from that because we do need to keep our doors open. And so we did give into that, and it did do well. But yeah, I did get a little backlash from the community.
Did you really on playing that?
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
But yet you had people wanting you to play it.
I had so many people wanting us to play it that I could not say.
So
I guess I could say no, but
so with some movies, it's a tough call.
it's a real tough call.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sure.
a real tough call. But yeah, I do get, some movies I do get phone calls of people upset that I bring them in, but I have to keep the doors open.
And it's kind of like being on the radio in that every time you turn the microphone on, you could accidentally offend somebody and not mean to.
Right.
It's like the old cliche, you can't keep everybody happy no matter how hard you try.
Yeah.
And so when you're in an entertainment business, some people sometimes are going to absolutely love it, and some people are going to hate it. So.
Yeah. Well, and I have to get, what I'm reminded of by friends and family is Dawn, they have a choice. They don't have to come and see that movie. And truly, that's what it gets down to too. We get a feel of what people want to see based off of if they're coming to see the movie. If we've tried some movies and it was horrible. We lost money on it. So it's like, I know some people want it to come in, but we just don't do well with it.
Sure,
so,
you bet.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Joy a little bit.
All right.
I talk about at the beginning of the podcast, I remember when she was just a baby. I don't know how old she was when you brought her out to the Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh. It's called Fast and Fresh now, but it was the Hy-Vee convenience store at that time. And Joel Jones was the manager, and he had a pet show, and everybody fell in love with Joy right away.
Yeah, I think so. She was born in February, and that was October. So she wasn't all that old. Wasn't all that old. She was just a little thing.
And she's pretty smart. And I know, you're talking about her getting older, but still she does tricks. What tricks does she do, Don?
Well, I mean, she does all the tricks she's ever done. I haven't taught her too many new ones just because a lot of the tricks we taught her before was before I bought the theater. Now that I have the theater, we're just so busy. But some of our, she does the normal, things you see a dog do, sit, shake, spin, lay down. She does a good job at, if you put food on the ground, she'll leave it. If, she goes through a hula hoop, tunnels, takes out puzzle pieces, takes rings off of the baby, the baby rings.
Well, and you demonstrated that for me once after a movie many years ago, a long time ago. She did some tricks.
Yeah.
And so, it's true. I know. I remember Johnny Carson and Ed McMahon used to argue about which were smarter, horses or pigs. And I can't remember who took which side. But I don't know horses that well, so I can't say. But I know pigs are very smart, and Joy is very smart.
In the pig world, they say the pig, pigs are smarter. Pigs are smarter than dogs, So pigs are right up there with dolphins and chimpanzees and.
And now you have another pig, Storm. Tell us about Storm.
I have Storm. And Storm. So during COVID, I was helping foster. I was helping a pig sanctuary, and so I got Storm in as a foster, and I had changed city code again so I could have Storm, and then a friend of mine named her Storm because she loves the X-Men character Storm, and my pig Storm has blue eyes, black hair, black with some white, so named her Storm. I wanted her to have a name like Faith or Hope because I thought that would do well with Joy. But unfortunately, I don't know if it was like, unfortunately, Joy or Storm lives up to her name. And she's she's a lot.
She's a handful.
She is a sweetheart. She's loud. She will, when we first got her, she would tell on Paul, like Paul would be in the kitchen, and she wouldn't like what he said, and she would come down and just telling on him.
Read Paul the Riot Act.
And we would have to shut the door in order for us to talk because she didn't want Paul talking to me. But and actually, as far as smartness, Storm doesn't know all the tricks that Joy does. She doesn't have, I don't know if it's Storm or if it's me, doesn't have the patience.
I see.
So Storm has learned all the basics and stuff, and she wants to do stuff, but she just looks at me all cute. So, and I don't want to say gave up on teaching her, but I just,
Does she ever come to the theater, or does she stay at the Bleeker household?
She comes to the theater because I really wanted to socialize her because I wanted her to go to nursing homes and stuff. And Joy, I look at Joy as kind of more of a performance pig. She likes to go places, perform, and she likes people clapping for her, making her feel good, but not really hands-on touchy-touchy. And Storm just likes to look cute and will go to people.
Oh, okay.
And so
they've got different personalities. Just like people have different personalities.
Yep. And so that's what I was kind of looking for. Now Storm's she gets a treat if she lets people pet her. Well, now she's kind of doing this thing where people come towards her and she'll go for the treat and walk away from the people. So it's like, okay, we gotta mix that up. But yeah, and Storm is 8 years younger than Joy. And it took a little bit for Joy to accept her, but But I do I'll kind of take turns with Joy and Storm. And Storm is an eager beaver. She wants to come. So she, in fact, even today, she ran out the door and tried to get into the car. And I'm like, no, you're not coming. It's just Joy.
Okay.
I brought them both a few times when she was younger, but Joy really doesn't like to share this room. This is Joy's room. So
she hogs the room.
She does. Yep.
So one thing I guess I wanted to mention, and we'll show it on the video, is you're selling a new product. A few years ago, I purchased some Joy the Mini Pig mini dolls that you had, gave one to my sister and a couple other people. But now you have a Christmas ornament that you're selling too, just in time for Christmas tree time to hang on there with a picture of Joy on it.
Yeah, so it's, and that was a big decision. So pigs live till 15 to 20 years. Well, Joy's going to be 13. So after we sold out all the mini Joy plushes, I was like, gosh, do I do something again? Because you have to get a pretty good minimum. But I thought it would be fun to get an ornament. And, we'll probably take pre-sales for the ornament. It's not quite done yet. They said I took too long. I was too picky with what the ornament looked like. And I said, well, she's more than a mascot. She's my pig. I'm excited about it. I'm happy with it. And Joy's birthday is in February, so I thought we kind of do more of a push then. But it's going to be a limited edition, so I think it'll be fun. I was putting on a Christmas tree over here, and it looks really pretty, and I'm excited. And
well, good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having the theater here in town. I know people just really appreciate it, and you run a good business, and I know you probably get complaints. I never hear about any when I'm out and about because you guys do a good job and have all kinds of great concessions here, and you kicked this theater up a few notches since you and Paul have owned it. So thanks for doing that, because I have a great love in my heart for the Capital II theaters and for Joy the Mini Pig also.
Yeah.
So we're going to wrap this podcast up, but make sure you watch the video, the shortcast that we do. That's a shorter version of the podcast, so you can see Joy the Mini Pig, Dawn, and the Christmas ornament that we're going to show that you can buy at the Capital II theaters. So, Dawn, thanks for taking the time to join us, and good luck again. Continued success with the Capital Theaters.
Thanks, Jamie.
This podcast also sponsored by Newton Clinic. Holiday hours alert. Newton Clinic closing early on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, as well as closed all day on Christmas and New Year's Day to give their staff time to spend time with their family and, of course, loved ones. They wish you a safe and joyful holiday season at Newton Clinic. Also sponsored by the Salvation Army in Newton. Still time to ring those bells for the Salvation Army and the Red Kettle Campaign. Go to registertoring.com. Sponsored by Free Classified Weekly. Those guys do a great job there. If you want to buy, sell, or trade, check out Free Classified Weekly. Also, Johnson Aviation in Newton. They want you to know that they have an introductory flight deal going on right now that's pretty good if you've ever wanted to fly, or if you know someone that, as for a Christmas present, might want to take a flight lesson. Give Ethan a call at 641-792-1292. The introductory flight lesson, only $60. I don't know why I'm having trouble with the word flight, but I am. Anyway, only $60. Give the gift of flight for this holiday season at Johnson Aviation. Again, Ethan's number is 641-792-1292 at Johnson Aviation. And by Lynette Baker, your Halo representative in Newton. If you have any specialty advertising products you'd like to find out about, see if they're available, and put your brand on it, hey, do that with Halo and Lynette Baker. Also sponsored by the gang at Advantage Credit Union in Newton.
Ho, ho, holy mistletoe! Are you still being fleeced on your monthly vehicle payments? Give yourself an early Christmas gift and refinance your sleigh ride with Advantage Credit Union. We'll have you dancing and prancing down the driveway as you save on your monthly payments and lower your interest rate. Best of all, you don't have to leave the comfort of your home to sign the paperwork. You can stay warm and cozy in your Santa pants and sign everything electronically. Call or text Advantage Credit Union today to get started.
Federally insured by the NCUA.
Until next time, out is out. See ya.